terrifying insects are invading the earth and their bites are transforming people into monsters. A guy named Cooper is running late for work and is on the phone with his father. His dad is extremely unhappy about Cooper's constant problems and embarrassing the family name. Cooper tries to prove that things aren't so bad and caught up in the conversation. He narrowly avoids being hit by a car. Finally, he makes it to the office where he works in the call center of a clinic. On the way to his workstation, he manages to crack a couple of silly jokes about his colleagues. However, before he can even begin his work, he's called to meet with his boss, a woman named Morin. She received a complaint about Cooper's inappropriate behavior with clients, so she plans to fire him. Suddenly, their conversation is interrupted by a deafening sound, causing all the office workers to pass out. Several days pass. The entire office is covered in webs. The creepy insects continue to move around the office and sting people trapped in cocoons. Cooper regains consciousness and frees himself from the cocoon. He feels sick from the strange white slime. Suddenly, a giant beetle attacks him. Despite his fear, Cooper fights back and manages to push it away. After calming down a bit, he notices that his boss Morin is trapped in a cocoon nearby. Cooper tears the webbing and brings her back to consciousness. Morin feels sick too and is confused about what's happening. Suddenly, she remembers that she was supposed to meet with her daughter before this mysterious event occurred. But what happened to her daughter now, and are there any people alive outside of the building? Morin, together with Cooper, run out of the office and see that all the people on the street are also in huge cocoons. Morin sees her daughter in the car and Cooper offers his help to rescue her. Cooper helps Sarah, Morin's daughter, break free from the cocoon, but the girl doesn't immediately understand his intentions and sprays gas from a canister in his eyes. Suddenly, a huge insect resembling a wasp grabs Morin and flies away with her. Sarah screams in horror but can't do anything to help her mother. Cooper and Sarah realize that they need to leave quickly, but huge bugs start appearing everywhere. Accidentally knocking over a garbage can, Sarah notices that the insects react to sound. She activates the alarm on her car and all the disgusting bugs run straight to it. Thanks to this, they manage to escape. Cooper and Sarah run into a cafe hoping to take cover from the insects. Sarah is very worried about her mother and wants to know what happened. But for Cooper, the situation is just as mysterious. Sarah wants to help the people in the cafe, but Cooper is against the idea. You never know how they will react, and explaining everything to each person is very tiring. Suddenly, a man named Hugo grabs Sarah by the neck. Cooper was afraid of this kind of reaction from people. He tries to help Sarah, but instead he gets hit in the jaw. Then the terrifying insect appears again and attacks Cooper. Hugo gets distracted from Sarah and destroys the bug. After regaining her senses, Sarah still decides to wake up everyone in the cafe. Cindy, Albert, Leachy, Roger, PJ, and the police officer. The whole team tries to figure out what to do next. Roger suggests leaving on his truck, but Sarah warns that it's a bad idea because noise attracts the insects. Roger and PJ ignore everyone's advice and get in the truck. The sound of the engine immediately attracts huge beetles that smash the vehicle. Trying to escape, PJ jumps out of the truck but breaks his leg and later ends up under the wheels of the uncontrollable truck. The insects carry away Roger, who was behind the wheel, in their terrible tentacles. In the battle with the terrifying creatures, the police officer also loses his life, and Alberta, Hugo's father, gets stung in the back by an insect. It seems that the wound is harmless, but the man has no idea how it will all end. The remaining survivors hide in the nearest building. Leachy suggests exploring, and the group goes up to the roof. There they see a mysterious red smoke and a whole swarm of wasp-like creatures flying in the opposite direction. Fortunately, the survivors wonder what to do next. Cooper suggests going to his retired military father, who has a bunker with everything they need. But can they make such a long journey and stay alive? Suddenly, several insects fly towards them. Leachy waves her arms, but they fly past. It turns out these monsters are blind and rely solely on hearing. The survivors decide to learn more about the insects. They lure a beetle into a closet using a radio and trap it inside. Leachy suggests milking it like a snake to study the venom. The rest of the group is not too keen on the idea, but they agree nonetheless. They once again battle the terrifying insect and obtain a sample of the venom. The company is waiting for results from Leachy and reminiscing about what each of them did before losing consciousness. They all heard a sound like a dog whistle that caused pain. Meanwhile, using makeshift means, Leachy finds out that the poison acts as a sedative due to a complex of special proteins. She also discovered a red gas like the one they saw in the sky. The scientist suggests that the insects emit it, but she doesn't know what it is. The exhausted people decide to stay in the building for the night and head to Cooper's father's bunker in the morning, stopping at each member's home on the way. Before sleeping, Cooper tries to remember where he met Sarah before because her face is very familiar to him. He can't sleep and decides to look for something to eat. Several small bugs suddenly crawl out of a box, frightening Cooper, who drops the box. But then he is even more scared by Cindy, who unexpectedly appears behind him. Cindy tells Cooper that she works in television and suggests they go together to the studio as they can contact any point in the world from there. Cooper agrees and says they will return for the others in the morning. But Cindy has other plans. She wants to leave only with Cooper. The guy begins to understand that he likes Cindy, but he does not share her feelings. The next morning the group wakes up to noise coming from the closet. The trapped beetle is trying to escape and makes horrible sounds that should attract its kin. Albert breaks into the closet and destroys the beetle. Frightened, the people realize that it's time to leave. Lychee refuses to go because she wants to wake up as many people as possible. She believes that it will be easier to fight the insects that way. Everyone except Lychee goes outside and heads towards the city. Cooper wants to talk to Sarah, so they walk separately from the others. Sarah doesn't like such questions and calls Cooper limited and immature. They sarcastically share their thoughts about each other, each of them sure they know people well. Finally, the group arrives at Albert and Hugo's house. They need to visit Hugo's bedridden mother. Cooper goes inside with them while the girls decide to wait for the men outside. Suddenly, Sarah discovers a note with Cooper's phone number in her pocket. Hugo's mother unfortunately has already passed away. Albert, upset, comes out of the house with a gun and says that he's ready to move forward. Cooper explains to him that if he fires, giant beetles will immediately swarm to the sound. However, Albert ignores this remark. The rest can only hope for his common sense. Now the team approaches Cindy's brother's house. In the yard they notice several people in cocoons suspiciously lying next to each other. Suddenly Cindy's brother comes out of the garage with another cocoon in his hand. However, the man has turned into a creepy mutant. Now he is half human, half insect. He attacks the survivors and wounds Cooper. Cindy tries to talk to him, but he grabs her. Hugo saves the blonde, but Cindy asks him not to kill her brother, not realizing that there is almost nothing left of him in this creature. Finally, Hugo and Albert stab the insane mutant with forks. The frightened people come to their senses in the house. Sarah treats Cooper's wound while Hugo and Albert check if all the windows and doors are locked. Cooper asks Sarah not to hit him but to simply run away if he also turns into such a monster. The guy says that he always dreamed of some kind of catastrophe so that he could live in the woods with a girl like Sarah and repopulate the planet. They talk and tell each other more about themselves. Cooper confesses that he recently lost his mother too. Albert continues to explore the house and suddenly feels unwell. Is the bite of the terrible insect making itself felt? The man meets Sarah in the kitchen. He does not tell her about his condition but asks her to take care of his son just like she takes care of Cooper. The girl is surprised by such a request but still agrees. Cooper sleeps after a hard day. Suddenly Cindy wakes him up and tells him that her brother was a good person and that he always cared about her. Cooper assures the girl that everything will be fine. But now Cindy wants Cooper to take care of her. She undresses and lies down next to the surprised guy. She wants to kiss him but he pushes her away and explains to the smitten girl that his thought is offended by Cooper and leaves the room. The survivors continue on their journey. Sarah looks at the mysterious smoke again and thinks that it is rising from the nest of the terrible creatures. She wants to go there because her mother may be there. Cooper dissuades the girl because the chances of finding her and getting out alive are very slim. Several giant wasps fly over the group of survivors again. People fall silent and hope that the insects will fly past. But suddenly Cindy notices that Cooper and Sarah are holding hands out of fear. She gets angry at Cooper, goes into hysterics and starts screaming, attracting the beetles. The rest unsuccessfully try to calm her down. Nothing helps and Albert shoots her with a rifle. Cooper and Sarah are in shock, but Albert claims that she wouldn't have stopped otherwise. Another battle with the terrifying wasps begins. Albert destroys several creatures but one of them grabs him and tries to carry him away. Cooper intercepts the rifle in time and frees the man. But at that moment he himself is attacked by an insect. Sarah tries to help him. The huge wasp releases him but immediately grabs the girl and flies away with her. Finally, after some time, Cooper, Albert and Hugo finally reach their destination. Cooper's father calls his favorite dog Lucy. Cooper asks his father not to shout, but his father loves Lucy almost as much as his son, so he doesn't stop trying to find her. In the evening, Albert's tooth suddenly falls out. Immediately after that, he begins to transform into a disgusting mutant. He attacks Cooper, but the guy tries to distract the terrifying creature. It loosens its grip and then the mutant father's own son shoots him. Hugo cries but explains to Cooper that his father ordered him to do so. Other insects swarm to the sound of the gunshot. Ethan, Cooper's father, destroys one of them, and now the three of them try to hide. In the bedroom they find the mutated Lucy and Ethan manages to distract her with her favorite toy. Suddenly a multitude of terrible beetles attacks them, but they manage to take cover in a bunker. The father suddenly turns off the light saying, "Good night." We see Cooper's memory again when he was almost hit by a car. But now it turns out that Sarah was behind the wheel. They argue, but Cooper gives the girl his number in case he damaged her car. Of course, this is just an excuse to ask her out. This is why Sarah had a note with the boy's phone number. And that's why Cooper thought Sarah's face was familiar. The father calls Cooper and the guy wakes up abruptly. At breakfast, Ethan says there are no government messages on the radio, which means they're on their own. He gives his son camouflage clothes and plans a route to a safe place. Cooper is unhappy that his father is making decisions without him again. After all, the guy intends to sneak into the nest and save Sarah, but his father refuses to help him. Disappointed, Cooper doesn't give up his goal, leaves and decides to help Sarah himself. But suddenly he is arrested by the military and thrown into prison. The guy doesn't understand what's going on. The old man in the neighboring cell explains to Cooper that the cops think they're all infected and will soon turn into mutant beetles. The old man tells his story, and it turns out he was one of the members of the Lychee group. However, they failed to deal with the insects. The strange smoke coming from the beetle's nest turned out to be an inflammable gas that all insects produce. Because of it, a fire broke out that destroyed the group's shelter. No one except the old man survived. At the same time, Sarah wakes up in the nest of the terrifying insects. There are many cocoons next to her. She tries to get out of this horrible place. Ethan and Hugo are brought to the site. Cooper tries to explain to the cops that it's very simple to check who's infected. Just check their back for a bite mark. They agree to check Ethan's back, but it turns out he's already been stung. A shootout ensues. At the same time, the surviving old man turns into an insect and is immediately destroyed. Cooper's father manages to deal with the cops, and the three of them escape from the site, taking weapons and other useful items including explosives. Meanwhile, frightened Sarah continues to explore the huge nest from the inside and finds the queen laying eggs. Ethan, Cooper, and Hugo continue their journey on bicycles found near the site. Ethan explains how he was stung. He freed the neighbor's dog from a cocoon, but it started barking, attracting the beetles. Fighting them off, Ethan got stung too. The company arrives at a cliff and sees a huge nest of disgusting insects. Now Ethan is also determined to make his way into the lair and destroy it. Sarah watches in horror as the queen devours people in cocoons. The girl plans to move away from her but encounters a mutant child. He senses Sarah and suddenly starts screaming piercingly. Sarah needs to get out as quickly as possible. Ethan suddenly feels sick. Cooper wants to help him, but their father handcuffs his son to a tree and Hugo knocks him out. The man has nothing left to lose, so he decides to sneak into the nest and blow it up. He says goodbye to his son and leaves. Ethan is already at the entrance to the nest. At the same time, Hugo regains consciousness and soon frees Cooper. The boys without hesitation head towards the nest, although the man told them to stay away from this place. Sarah listens carefully to every sound. Suddenly Ethan approaches her. The terrified girl thinks it's a beetle and stabs him with a knife in the hand. They introduce themselves and Ethan explains to her how she can escape. Sarah cries because she hasn't been able to find her mother. He calms her down and tells her that he came to blow up this terrible nest. Sarah suggests that Ethan take him to the queen's lair. They reach this scary place, but they don't find the queen there. Ethan orders Sarah to leave. Suddenly they discover the queen above them. She is ready to attack. Ethan opens fire on her, but destroying this giant creature is not so easy. Cooper and Hugo hear the sounds of gunfire and hurry to help. The queen begins to emit a deafening sound. But Hugo has hearing problems, so her scream doesn't affect him. The guy throws explosives into her mouth just in time. Cooper continues to shoot at her when suddenly his father starts transforming into a monster. The guys hurry towards the exit. Cooper activates the explosives and the whole nest is engulfed in flames, after which it explodes and shatters into small pieces. Cooper wakes up in the hospital where he is greeted by Sarah and Hugo. They open the window. Instead of creepy sounds, now they hear bird songs. The guys make their way out onto the street and start freeing people in cocoons, and finally Hugo invites Sarah on a date. But the joy of victory over the monsters did not last long. Suddenly they turn around and see something terrifying, but what exactly remains a mystery. Share your thoughts in the comments, subscribe for more videos like this, turn on the notification and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.